Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the Sentinels of Order supplement book for Warcry. In this video we'll go through the Sentinels of Order book right from the beginning to the end and look at all the contents, and hopefully that'll give you a good idea if this is something you want to add to your Warcry game. This book came out in December 2020, and I picked this up with all the other books that came out, and there's one for each of the alliances. So we've got the Sentinels of Order, the Agents of Chaos, Harbingers of Destruction, and the Bringers of Death. And they're fantastic books, and I'm really glad I got them. And to give you an idea of size, you've got the Sentinels of Order and Agents of Chaos are almost twice the size of the other two. And so here you're looking at 112 pages plus this page on the back cover, so we've got 113 pages for the Sentinels of Order and the Agents of Chaos, and then the other two kind of almost half the size, 64, and with this one be 65 pages, and they're priced kind of differently. So these two are £20 RRP and these two are £15, so for £5 extra you're getting quite a lot more with these two thicker books. And I'll put links to Element Games in the description below, where you can save 20% or up to 20% on that RRP, and that's an affiliate link, but it won't cost you anything extra. In fact, you're going to save that money, and for every sale made through an affiliate link, I'll get a small commission, and that's going to help me develop the channel, do loads more videos like this. So thanks so much for that support, I really appreciate it. Okay, let's put these three to one side, and I've done videos for each of these, so you can check those out on the channel too. And here's our Sentinels of Order. So this is going to focus on the Alliance of Order, and there's one book for each alliance, and this goes through all the warbands that you can use in Warcry for each of those alliances, and they're really great books. And we've got some nice artwork on the front, and again the Warcry branding is really good, so I really love this kind of style they've gone with this, and the paintings are really great. And then on the back, it just tells us briefly in this little square. This book contains additional rules for Warcry, including fighter cards and ability tables for 12 warbands belonging to the Grand Alliance of Order. You'll also find new content for narrative play, including 4 fated new quests and 6 new challenge battles for the Order warbands. And again, we've got a bit of artwork, some nice photos, and they're going heavy on the Stormcast Eternals to promote this book, which I guess they're really popular miniatures, so lots of people are going to have those. Okay, so let's work through the book, and first we'll just check out the contents page. And so it tells us here we're going to get a little section on how to use the book, heroes and allies, monsters, and then we'll go through all the warbands of Order in great detail. There's so many here to look at. And then we'll take a look at narrative play, the background tables, fated quests, and then challenge battles. And each of these books has got this very similar layout, and starting with this kind of introduction here, this just gives us a little idea about why the warbands of Order are in the 8 points, what they're up to, and this is a great introduction to them. So if you're looking to play a warband for the Warbands of Order, then this is great reading, and it's not too much, just enough to give you a flavour of the background and a nice narrative to get started with. So here we get another couple of pages, just a more in-depth introduction, telling us about the Bloodwind spoil and everything that's going on. So this is a great way to get started. And then we've got this section on how to use this book, and again they've all got this same or similar layout, and it just goes on about the Order warbands, a little bit about heroes and allies, monsters, campaigns and challenge battles, and then it's got a little breakdown of the different rune marks. And now this book's going to be a little bit different to the other books like the Chaos and the Death and Destruction, because there's a lot more that we can do with the different rune marks for the different orders, and it breaks it up into cities of Sigmar, which encompass all these different cities, and then you've got the Order, which breaks up into the ones we're familiar with: Daughters of Cain, Lumineth, Fire Slayers, etc. So this really is a different way of using this book than it is with the others, And you'll see in a bit that this Cities of Sigmar section is incredible, and it just gives you so much that you can use in your game. Okay, so now on to this page is the Heroes and Allies, and this section is going to give us the rules for special types of fighters known as Heroes and Allies, and those rules can now allow you to include more than one fighter that's got the leader rune mark. And if you've picked up the other books like the Monsters and Mercenaries, then the rules in this book and this section will supersede the ally rules in that book, so that's good to bear in mind. But now you can have say another leader with a leader rune mark that you can use in your warband as a hero, but they won't be able to use the leader abilities. So they can use the other different abilities, but just not the leader ones. So although the rules have changed, you can still only have one leader using the leader abilities. So, but all that information's here and it explains it really clearly. Okay, and then we're moving on to monsters, and the great thing about monsters is you can choose to go up against a monster with your warband, or you can even include monsters in your warband now, which is so fun, and that's going to be really great, and this is going to open it up to loads of different miniatures that you can include in your Warcry game now. And then this section is going to tell you all about deploying, activating, moving them, and then goes into here some detail about abilities. So you've got monster hunting abilities for your warband, and also abilities for the monsters themselves, so they get special abilities too. So when you choose to go up and have a battle with a monster, your fighters can use these abilities, which is awesome. So it adds a little bit extra to the game, and that's the brilliant thing with Warcry. There's so much depth to it. There's so many campaigns you can go on. You know, you can start adding your own elements in and making your own creations. So it really is such a packed game with loads of narrative, loads of background, and just loads of directions you can go in. And here it's telling us how we can use those monsters in battle and how to include them in the warband. So have a monster in your warband. That's amazing. So that's really cool. And then we also get some of the actual monsters. So we've got a War Hydra, a Charybdis, and then it tells you their specific abilities. So although they've got the monster abilities, each monster is going to have their own abilities which tie in with the narrative of that monster and their behaviour. And then it's got the card that we've seen before with all the different fighters, and then it breaks it down points and everything just as normal. But it's got a damage table here, and this is going to change depending on how you play the game. And let's see, that's it. So we're just getting 2 monsters in this one. So these are the 2 you can include in your warband if you're playing the Alliance of Order. Okay, so now we go into the section that breaks down all the different warbands, and we'll take a look at them all. And this first one, Cities of Sigmar, is really brilliant. And it says here, just gives you a little bit of background again, specific to the Cities of Sigmar, what these fighters and warbands are doing in the 8 points, what they're up to, why they're there, their motivation, and again a little bit of history. Not too much, but enough just to get you going. And if you want to find out more, you can branch into all the different novels and books and all the different information that's available on the websites and everything. So here it says that when you're playing the Cities of Sigmar warbands, it works slightly different to the other warbands. So when you muster a Cities of Sigmar warband, you must also choose the city from where they come from. So you just pick one of the city rune marks, and you've got here Hammerhall, the Living City, Greywater Fastness, the Phoenicians, and then depending on the city you choose, that's the abilities that your fighters and your leaders are going to get. So you'll see in a second that there's tons of fighters that you can include and tons of leaders, but although you can choose from all different fighters, they have to stick to one city. So here we go, Hammerhall, it's got the fighter and leader abilities, the Living City, the fighter and leader abilities, and then so on for each city. And there's loads of choice here. So you can see you've got tons, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different cities to choose from. And then we start going into the fighter types. So I'll just flick through real quick just to show you, and then we'll break it down a little bit more. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of fighter types to choose from. And this is where it gets really fun, I think. So you can choose the Cities of Sigmar shield bands, and that's one style of play. But then you go over, and then you've got even more varied ones, so more like human kind of characters. Then you've got some dwarves, Then you've got your kind of Elven Wildwood Rangers, you've got Shadow Warriors, but then you can choose from all of these, so you don't have to stick to one kind of faction. You can have one Wildwood Ranger, you could have a Gyrocopter, a Preceptor, and then have a Lordling or a Sorceress as your leader. So you've got loads of options there, and then depending how they're going to play in their tactics, whichever city they're from, you then have a look through and you can decide on the kind of what abilities your fighters and your leader are going to have. So for me, this is just great. I mean, it just reminds me of almost like the Fellowship of the Ring for Lord of the Rings. You can have such totally different characters, but make sure they play in a way that you want them to by choosing the right city and then their abilities and fighter and leader abilities. So that's really cool. And what a great feature to have that opens up pretty much all the models of City of Sigmar. But there is a downside to this. I mean, if you wanted to play such varied characters, then you'd have to buy a set for each character almost, and that's going to get really expensive. So I think unless you've got a collection already or you've got loads of money to spend on it, then building a warband that way, that's going to be quite pricey. But if you've got an Age of Sigmar, City of Sigmar army for maybe Age of Sigmar already, and then you want to start playing Warcry, well, this is just going to give you all the options you need. And this is where the book comes packed with value, I think. You know, you've got so many options from it. So that's really great. And this is just the first section. So that's just the Cities of Sigmar. But now let's move on and take a look at the next warband, which is Daughters of Cain. I did a video recently on the Daughters of Cain where I went through the set and compared the different fighters in that set to the cards here. But you can see we've got the fighter and leader abilities, but this time you can only choose from the Daughters of Cain. And so you've still got a couple of pages there, but you've also got the Cainite Shadow Stalkers. So when you do that, you can mix the Daughters of Cain with the Daughters of Cain Shadow Stalkers, but just be aware that the abilities are different. So all these are going to have the fighter and leader abilities from this page, whereas the Shadow Stalkers are going to get the abilities from this page. But the good thing with this is you've got a few lower point options here, whereas the rest of them are quite high. So it's a good way to mix it up. And also this is where you can mix a Warcry warband set with an Age of Sigmar set. So that's a good option for them. And now we're on to the Fire Slayers. And the same thing, we've got our fighter and leader abilities. And not so many fighters for these. So what, 11? We've got 17. And then the next one is the Ideneth Deepkin. And the layout's the same. Not many fighters for them, just 12 to choose from. And then we've got the Caradron Overlords. So these were included as a warband set. So you've got 9 there. But you've got a lot more options here. So when you've got the set, this is probably going to give you more fighter options than were included in the cards that came with the set. So, and this will update any fighter and leader abilities that have changed as well. So this is good if you want to keep up to date. This is the book you want to be checking. And yeah, so this is going to open up again. If you've got a Caradron Overlords Age of Sigmar army, you've got so much you can play with here. And the chances are you can have a nice variety, and you can build loads of different Warcry warbands. And when you're looking at 1,000 points, most of these are kind of on average, what, 150 to 200? You're not going to need a lot of miniatures to kit out a warband for 1,000 points. So this is a great option. And now we're on to Lumineth Realm Lords. And these have got some great abilities. While it doesn't look a lot here, there's their page of their fighter and leader abilities. And there's only 11 fighters to choose from. These two abilities are amazing. So if you like playing these, the abilities that come with it are fantastic. And I think I've got to build a warband of these just to make use of these two abilities here, because they're fantastic, really good. Next we've got the Seraphon. And this is going to open up a lot of miniatures again here. So you can see you've got 12 and then another 20. So you've got 32 miniatures you can use in the Seraphon. So a Seraphon army, perfect. And what I've done is I've picked up the Saurus Knights, and I'm going to go with a, where is he? Saurus Knight Alpha and then some Saurus Knights, and just put a warband together that's all mounted. So I think that's really fun. And then when the new Underworld set comes out later this year, I'm going to introduce them and kind of sub them for some of these characters, and or use them as heroes, that kind of thing. So that's a great way as well. If you like Underworld, or you want to add some heroes but don't want to spend a lot of money, then you can get like a nice set of Underworld and include them in your Warcry warband, and just sub the different fighter types for the miniatures that kind of suit them the best from the Underworld set. And so what I've done there is I got the Saurus Knights for like £20 on eBay, and then I'll pick that other set up for about 20 with a discount, and then I've got tons of options. I've got a warband for 1,000 points, plus I've got enough heroes and fighters to take me up to 15, so plenty to go about a campaign with. So that's really cool. And now we're on to the Stormcast Eternals, and this section is crazy. You've got so many fighters to choose from. This is unreal. So you've got the Stormcast Eternals, the Warrior Chamber, and here you can see you've got 36, 37, 38. Then you've got the Vanguard Auxiliary Chamber, and here you're getting another 14. Then you've got the Sacrosanct Chamber, giving you another 12, 24. So that's tons of miniatures and fighters that you can choose to kit out a warband. And I think a lot of people are going to have Stormcast Eternals, especially if they play Age of Sigmar, and with that Mortal Realms subscription with the Stormcast Eternals and the Nighthawk included. I think this section is going to be really popular. So yeah, if you play Stormcast Eternals, you are going to love this. It's got so much in, so many different abilities, and of course you can mix your fighters from the different chambers. So tons of options, and these are quite high points though, so you're not going to have many fighters. So I think it'd be really fun to just make lots of different warbands, and I think that'd be really cool. Alright, so now we're on to Sylvaneth, and we're still going. Here we are, and then we've got the Sylvaneth. Not many fighters here, but then I've looked on the Games Workshop website, and there's not much choice for the Sylvaneth anyway. So what, we've got 6, 12, 15. And this one's really nice, the Arch Revenant. That's an awesome looking model, and that's going to be on my list for sure, and to use as a leader is really fun. But you got quite a lot from the actual Warcry warband for Sylvaneth. You got the Kurnoth Hunters, and you got the Tree Revenant and Spite Revenant, and you can also turn those into the Scion, the Shade Stalker, and the Kurnoth Huntmasters. So there's not many miniatures you have to get to have access to all the fighters from this, so that's really useful. Okay, that brings us to the end of that section, and now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about the narrative play. So narrative play is really where I think Warcry is going to come alive and just open it up to tons of options, tons of gameplay. And in here you're going to get 4 new fated quests and also 6 new challenge battles, and you can use these at any stage in your campaigns. So when you start your narrative play or your campaigns, it's really cool to name your miniatures and give them some background, and this is where this section's really good. And on each warband they're going to give you 1 page, and they're going to give you some tables to roll a d10 dice, and then that'll randomly select a name, and you choose a human, a dwarven or an elf name. And normally you'd get a first and last name, like here. You can see they've got the first name and last name. I guess there's so many in cities, so many factions that they want to do this. So that's cool. So yeah, you've got an option of rolling that d10 dice, or you could choose a name, just pick one you like and give it to a miniature you think is going to suit, or you can just come up with a completely new name on your own, and that's cool as well. And the good thing here as well, you can give your warband an origin, and the same thing, you can roll a d6, choose one, or completely make it up. But I like to make stuff up, but use like these as a starting point and almost give me some ideas to kind of bounce off of, and that's really cool. And then here we've got the leader or favoured warrior background, and again, roll, choose, or make your own up. But let's give you an example. Let's do an origin as well. So these are ragged survivors. These warriors are the last survivors of an ill-fated expedition into the 8 points. So they've been in there, they've got beaten, they've lost some of their kind of teammates, and they've come out in a right mess, but they want to go back for revenge, I'd imagine. So let's choose a favoured background for the leader. Here we go, maybe unpaid debts. This warrior has run far indeed to escape the trouble waiting for them back home. So they've gone to the 8 points, now they've got to come back and pay some debts. So I don't know how that's going to influence his gameplay, but it gives a bit of background. And I think with these backgrounds, using them when you play and then playing as your warband rather than as yourself, that's really fun. And if you've got like leaded backgrounds, like here if you're devoted to the cause, whether simply patriotic or a true religious zealot, this warrior fights with the utmost conviction. So if you've got a choice of backing away in a game with a particular fighter in a particular kind of battle, if you've got a choice of backing away or going at it head on, then this fighter is probably going to go head on. So you would kind of use this to influence how you play the game maybe, and that's where the narrative side comes in and where I think it's really fun. So you're going to get one for each of the different warbands. So Fire Slayers, Idoneth Deepkin, Shadowstalkers, Lords. So you've got lots here, lots to play around with, loads of information. And then we'll move on to the Fated quests. So here we go, in this section you're going to get 4 special campaign quests known as Fated quests, and to use them you've just got to use the rules from the core book that comes with Catacombs or with the original game, and then this is just going to give you all the information about that, about honour and glory and everything to do with this. So well worth reading the core book first and then starting to look at this. And usually a Fated quest will come like this on 2 pages, and it's going to give you what's called convergences. So you'll have a first convergence, a second and a final, and then a campaign outcome. And each one is like a battle, so it gives you the battle plan, the deployment, the victory and the twist, and gives you all the information you need. And then you've also got artifacts of power and command traits, which again, it's all detailed there. So everything you need is written on 2 pages, and you even get a nice introduction just to get you into the scenario, and a map to give you a kind of place in the world that it's all going on in. And so that's it, 2 pages, really nice. And if you want to start writing these yourself like I do, then this gives you the template you need to do that. So this is really good, and there's going to be 4 of these in total, and any of the warbands can use those. And then here we just go into a bit more detail about the spoils of victory, the honour or glory, depending which you choose. And then we go on to what's called challenge battles, and these are a lot more streamlined than the Fated quests. This gives you everything you need to play, like how to set it up, the kind of special rules, the spoils, the aftermath sequence, the narrative of challenge battles. And then the challenge battles are going to be 1 page. This is great. You get a little introduction, you get how to set it up, the special rules, the battle plan and the spoils. So again, a nice template if you want to write these yourself. Really easy. And then if there's any extra things, like here you've got an extra card. So this is bringing in a Karajan frigate, which is going to be, sounds pretty cool. So that's great. So that'll all be there. And you just need 1 page, and then you're off. You can fight a challenge battle. So you get 6 of these. So this is really cool. Loads in there, loads of information. And then that brings us to the final 2 pages where we've got our Warcry Warband roster. And this is where you put like the name, the origin, the player name, the quest. You keep an eye on your dominated territories, your progress tracker through your campaign and those convergences we saw earlier. If you've got a monster, you put that in here, any heroes and allies, your leader, your favoured warrior, and then you put all your fighters. And then you keep an eye on their destiny levels and everything there. So that's the end of that book. So that brings us to the back page, and that's everything you're going to get in this awesome book, The Sentinels of Order for Warcry. So these are great books, and I think if you want to play one of the warbands from the Sentinels of Order, then this is a must. It's packed with information, and what it does is it opens up all the miniatures from Age of Sigmar that can be brought into Warcry, even the ones that have just been released. So for example, if you look at Agents of Chaos, and we'll flick to, let's have a look, page 48, you can see that this is going to have the fighter type cards for the miniatures that have only just been released on pre-order. So this is awesome. So this already kind of preparing for this year when those were coming out, and now you can bring them straight into Warcry. So if you're picking them up for Age of Sigmar but want to try your hand at Warcry 2, these books are going to let you do that. So I think they're fantastic, and I really like the direction that's gone in. Hopefully they're still going to release lots of Warcry specific warbands, and I'd like to see some new ones that aren't just like Age of Sigmar kind of sprues put into a set like they did with Sylvaneth, which, although that's an awesome set, I'm not sure how some of these they would put them together. So I'd be interested to see what this year's going to bring in that respect. But as far as I'm concerned, these books are brilliant, and I'm putting together some different warbands from the different books, just using these, so I don't have to buy the cards anymore. That's another bonus. You don't have to buy the Warcry cards, you can literally just use the book. But if you want to play, and say you're playing the Carriage and Overlords and you've got fighters on 2 pages, I think it's going to be annoying flicking back and forth during the game. And also it's good to put the damage and wound tokens on the cards, so you really want to be looking at photocopying this, printing it off, or using like a template card and making your own up and then printing them. So just something to bear in mind, but the information is all in here. So let me know what you think about these books. Have you picked them up yet? Or is there something you want to ask about them that I haven't covered in the videos? Please join in and add any comments, questions or feedback in the comments section below. It'd be great to hear from you. I'll put links to all 4 of these books in the description below, and there'll be affiliate links to Element Games, so you can get that up to 20% discount. So with this being 20 usually, you're going to get it for around, around that £15-16 mark, which is perfect. And the same with these being 15, they're going to come down to like 12. So you get a good save in there. I hope this was helpful and gave you a good look inside the book and give you an idea if it's something you'd like to add to your Warcry collection. Thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.